So today, for your consideration, I've got another gunbroker bargain basement discount pistol to check out. So what I've got here is a Lorcin L25, little 25 ACP, little pocket rocket as it were. They're kind of a pot metal chromed machine. They're really not very fancy. And, we're going to take it apart and see why they didn't want it anymore. It was advertised as for parts or repair, and just mostly, for the most part, seems kind of gummy. A little sticky in the pull back, and the slide doesn't set all the way forward, but trigger pulls, hammer drops. It did not come with the mag. I had to buy that separate. They are awfully pricey. Spent about half as much on that as I did the pistol. So, but what good's something like this without a magazine? So I picked one up. So now that we've checked the gun for clear, let's take it apart and see what we find. The underside of that slide was pretty messy. That took a bit to clean up, but nothing too hard to do. This right here was a little bit of a mess. We're going to clean that up later, but piece is functional, just dirty. The grips being some sort of, I guess, Bakelite plastic and being one piece, so it's kind of a tough job to get that off.
2 hours later.
There we go. Got it. And with enough time and screwdrivers, you can get one off without breaking it. The safety is just a little disc of plastic that gets in the way of retracting the holder of the firing pin. So not super complicated and not something I'd want to trust in my pocket, but that's what it's got. And this has the same style trigger assembly as the Brico pistols I've taken apart before, and these do wonders if you take them apart, clean out the little spring that sits in between the connecting bar and the trigger. They pull a little nicer. So here's a little breakdown of everything that comes out of it. Wasn't missing any pieces, and nothing is broken. So these are all the parts that are going to go back into it after it's cleaned up.
$2,000 years later.
I'm always impressed using the parts cleaner like that, how some of these parts just look so much better after they come out. This grip had no shine to it. It didn't impress me before I put it in, and now it's just kind of got an iridescence to it. There's usually an awful lot of funk sitting on top of some of these older things, so good cleaning goes a real long way. Pulling apart that trigger and connecting bar, getting that spring out of there. I'm going to clean both of those up real good, because that's one of the sticking points I find in the triggers on these cheapo little pistols, is that connection. This slide's another one, came out looking like $1,000,000. It was pretty funky when it went in. It's got a nice shine to it now. There's a couple spots where the chrome's coming off of it, but I mean, you get something for as cheap as you get it, you expect the finish to not be great, but the functional parts of it really cleaned up nice. This gun has seen a lot of soft lead rounds. First I thought it was a smooth bore, but there is actually rifling hiding underneath there. So I'm gonna have to get some good copper jackets in there to get that lead out. That trigger connecting bar had a decent amount of rust on it, so just a little bit of gun oil, a little bit of steel wool, give it a good scrubbing. That cleans it up nice, gets rid of all the funk that's on there. And my camera battery died, so you're not going to get to watch the mag release get put in and me finishing putting in that trigger assembly. And the only two stamped steel parts in the gun are the only two things that are real rusty and real dirty. So this is the second one here, just doing the same thing, a little steel wool, a little oil, cleaning it up real nice. And put it back in there with a nice shine on it. And that click lets you know that the grip's where it belongs. So you've been hanging out this long, you're watching this and enjoying it. I'd appreciate if you consider throwing a like my way. And if you've watched a couple of these videos and you're liking what you're seeing and you're enjoying them, maybe you're getting something useful out of it, I'd appreciate it if you consider throwing a subscribe my way. It'd be greatly appreciated. And there we go. That slide just falls right forward now without any effort, no resistance. Cleaning made a big difference on how that trigger feels as well. So this here is just a homemade dummy round. It's got no powder in it, no primer. So you can see right there, no primer in that primer pocket. So this is a safe round for me to do some load testing on. I can put it in the mag and kind of run it through the gun without any chances of discharge in the house and see what it does. This isn't horribly uncommon, but sometimes it's not ideal either. When you hand rack slide like that, you're not doing it with the same speed as a round will send that slide back. So for it to not eject while hand drawing the slide back doesn't mean that it won't eject a round, but it does mean that I want to keep an eye out for some potential stovepiping or possibly the brass not leaving that area of the slide. So we're gonna have to wait and see. That was a good single round test fire. Went into the ground well, cycled well. I'll try a couple more, see what happens. And for the inquisitive hand loaders out there, these are 50 grain copper jacketed projectiles with 1.4 grains of HP 38 followed up behind them. So I've got a small stovepipe on that one, and I'm inclined to wait and see on that. I'm not quite sure if it's an extractor issue or not. So a little more stovepiping, but it's always a tough call because I don't quite know what this gun's comfortable with just yet, what it takes to cycle it the way it wants to be cycled. So. And there it is. Seems to work well when it wants to. That's the end. Thanks for watching.